All right, gang, we're back. It's been a minute, and it's been a minute for a good reason. If you saw the live feed the other night, I was talking about how I got really sick at the end of the year, and it came directly from stress at school and me not taking care of myself properly, and then it just made me sick, and it like really waking up in the middle of the night to blow my nose sick. Like, who wakes up in the middle of the night to blow their nose? Come on, man. But you know, the good thing is Sudafed's still in business, and that's probably largely because of me. And I don't even like taking that kind of stuff. But quick side note, I tried to film this outside because it's summer and it's beautiful out, and I have this really beautiful little garden behind my house, but there were a gazillion mosquitoes and I just couldn't. I already have, like, my legs are bleeding from scratching so many mosquitoes. So there's so many mosquitoes in my backyard. There's mosquitoes on mosquitoes in my backyard. I don't know if this is gonna work. Too many mosquitoes back here. I'm in Marley's room. And to be honest, I love being in Marley's room. When my kids were very little, like when they were babies and they slept in the crib, if I had a stressful day, I would just go in and sleep on their floor for a little bit while they were sleeping, because just being near them just made me feel better. Here's what I want to talk about today.
The year in review.
I have talked about this before. I really love the idea of a year in review. I love looking back on my marriage, on my friendships, on my beliefs and things, and every so often just kind of checking in and looking back. And having a vlog is a really great way to do that. If you ever decide to vlog and you don't really want to put it on YouTube, it's just a good way to like look back at your year and see kind of what has happened. And so that's what I want to do with this video. I have I think some really great stuff to share with you that's not just like, hey, look at my year, but how I grew from it, some stuff that I learned this year that I think is going to benefit everyone. And so that's why I want to make this video. So as Philip DeFranco says, let's just
jump into it.
From the jump, when I do activities like this, I want to have this sort of growth mindset. That's where I'm coming from with this. And I don't want to just like celebrate or just belittle myself for the things that have happened, or look at others in sort of like a resentful way that things didn't work out the way that I wanted them in some cases. And at the same time, I don't want to come off like Pollyanna-ish. I'm not even sure what that term really, who's Pollyanna? Is it a girl? Is it a term? I don't really know.
The Pollyanna principle, also called Pollyannism or positivity bias, is the tendency for people to remember pleasant items more accurately than unpleasant ones.
Either way, I don't want to have like rose-colored glasses on it. I want to look at how I thought things were going to play out, how they actually played out, and then what I can learn from those things. So last August, I spent this whole day filming this video that I really enjoyed and was really excited about how to make this year the best year ever. So I want to share with you my top 10 ways that I'm planning on having the best year ever. And I had decided previously that my year was going to be the best year that I ever had in the classroom. For 9 months leading up to the year, I had planned this year out. From speakers to curriculum. I had my new co-teacher that came in halfway through the year last year, came all the way back from Hawaii, was going to teach this year with me. And I literally do not remember being so excited. It was like this new class that we were going to teach. We were going to take the 9th graders from this year. We would teach them in 9th and 10th grade. We asked for all the kids that were like the students that were struggling the most. We were going to develop a new curriculum around that to really help these students that we felt like were very underserved in a lot of cases. And instead what happened, so how can I share this? Let's say there was a job opening at my school. My co-teacher that was supposed to teach with me felt obligated to take that job. And in a lot of ways, she was sort of jumping on a grenade for the school. But then when she did that, I was left alone in the classroom with no one. So I had the most difficult kids behaviorally, academically, too many kids in some cases, 31, 32 kids in a classroom, and I was alone. And I knew that when they started looking for people to hire, like Someone who has a special ed certification in high school that doesn't have a job in the middle of the year, you gotta really wonder about the people that are trying to get a job in the middle of the year. Not to mention that there was a lot of negativity surrounding me in my sort of like personal world and in my school world as well. There were a lot of other struggles this year in terms of things with my kids that I still can't go into. And some point I will go into that stuff because I think it's a huge learning experience for reasons that I can't go into. It was a lot, and a lot of that cost a lot of money. And so that led to like financial situations this year. My wife started a new job, which made me like a not so single dad on a different level than I had been before. I had an enormous amount of challenging students this year. And anyone out there knows, like, school districts, like, they can have the best intentions, but not all the time does even the state have the resources or have the funding to provide the resources for certain students. And it just makes it difficult because you're constantly trying to make something from nothing. And overall, like, after October, I just didn't feel silly. I didn't feel funny this year. I didn't feel myself. It was a real struggle all year, a year where I just think I did not take enough self-care. And there were definitely pockets of that, and there were some great opportunities this year, but like overall, it was one of my most challenging years that I've ever had in the classroom. And so all this stuff going on, and then I'm still trying to be the best teacher that I can, the best dad that I can, the best husband, the best friend, and the best dog owner. And to be honest, maybe I was just the best dog owner at the end of the year. So it was challenging. So what does this all mean? One of the things that I try to do when I'm having a particularly difficult situation is I try to be grateful about whatever I can be grateful with. Because I think operating from that place, for me, helps me to work a whole lot better than if I'm operating from a place of resentment or anger or despair. So this year, at the end of the year, I just wrote down everything that I was appreciative of this year. Kind of to my surprise, there were more things than I thought there would be. I mean, I got to take my boys to Princeton to go see A Christmas Carol, and one of my students that we call Big Gooch we got like the seat hookup because my man was too big to sit in the regular seats.
I can't sit there. Chair. He's too big for the seat. Look how little I look. I look like you're Santa Claus. I want a pony named Kevin for Christmas and a drone.
I got you.
Okay, thank you.
I got to go to Brooklyn, and I didn't even make that video yet, where I got to hang out with one of my heroes, Mac Primo, and his homie Ouija, who owns a company called the Brooklyn Circus. And that trip was all world. And that video just kind of fell to the wayside this year, but I really am excited to tell that story, hopefully at some point this summer. I got to take my boys to the Eastern State Penitentiary here in Philadelphia, which is a place where my great-grandfather worked, and I was really excited to always kind of go there, and I never had a reason. I partnered with other middle schools in Philadelphia, like Radnor Middle School, took my boys to Belize, and we spent a week there having fun, ziplining and scuba diving and singing on the beach. I got a bunch of cool speaking gigs, like some new stuff, like I got to go to University of Colorado. Shout out to my man Franklin for hooking that trip up. I spoke at St. Joe's, I spoke at LaSalle University. Personally, we reached 10,000 subscribers this year, and I even made myself a play button that fooled my students all year because they thought it was real, as did every single guest that came in. When I told them that when you reach 10,000 subs, they give you a play button made out of tin and plywood. Some wonderful woman that watches me on Instagram or YouTube, I forget where she saw me, sent me brand new stools this year for my classroom. Somebody dressed like me for Halloween at school. And then a bunch of other stuff, like all of the speakers that I had come in this year, from my man Russ to the two guys that started Pan Clothing. I did a bunch of new lessons this year. Look, I mean, all this great stuff that I didn't see coming in the beginning of the year. And I just think when you can start to be grateful for certain things, it just really helps. And so let me tell you this real quick story that I think might bring a lot of value to you. Without using names or naming the relationship, because I don't want to out this person on YouTube. Growing up, there was someone in my family that was very, very close to me. We had a very tumultuous relationship, and my memory of this relationship is that I always wanted to be close to this individual, and they never wanted to be close to me. And as I got older, they kind of separated from me even more. And when my son was born, I remember calling that individual up and I remember asking them why they hadn't come to see my son or why we couldn't organize a day so that they could see my son. And the conversation turned into an argument. This person who I loved, that I had always wanted a relationship with, told me that I was a piece of shit and then hung the phone up on me. One of my it's both a fault and I think a superpower at this point, is that I really like when people like me. And when people don't like me, it deeply bothers me. From a point of view that I'm not as concerned about myself, but if you don't like me, I feel like maybe I've wronged you in some way, and I never want to like hurt someone or make them feel bad, unless they really deserve it. And then I didn't talk to this individual for the next almost 10 years, until one day I called them up and I said, hey, can we just put all of this stuff aside that happened? My kids really want to know who you are. Could we please just put that aside for the sake of my children? Because they are interested in knowing you. I was told that they would call me back, and I didn't hear back from them for 30 days after that. And when they finally did call me back, I was excited. I was ready to start this up. I was ready to put all of that stuff aside. And I was told that they did not have any interest in speaking to me ever again or to ever knowing my children. And that was crushing on a level that I've rarely felt in my life. That level of indifference towards me. I mean, they say the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And that level of indifference, I mean, it destroyed me. The more I thought about that and the more I prayed about it, the more I thought I would do a practice where every morning I would wake up and I would focus, especially on individuals that I was having a difficult time with or couldn't figure them out, or whether that was another teacher or someone in my family, whatever it was. And I would practice just being grateful, no matter how difficult that was. And so I did that with this individual. I ended up writing a letter to them, naming all the things I was grateful for and just saying, you know what, I just want you to know that I think that I've probably have been more negative about our relationship than was necessary. And I just said, I just want you to know that I'm grateful for these things. And when I thought about it, at first that felt really weak to be that vulnerable and to put myself out there again. But instead it was really empowering, because it was like, I'm going to choose to look at this situation the way I choose to look at it. And this is what I'm going to do. I then heard back from someone else that was the greatest letter that individual had ever received, that it just changed their viewpoint of me and of the situation. And I still have never heard from them again, but I'm at least all right now that like I've done everything I could and I chose to be grateful instead of just being angry. And that lifted a weight off of me that was surprising. And so I do the same thing with my year. And so I guess if you do this, the thing that I would impart to you, the thing I would ask you for, right, is that take a look at your year, see what worked and what didn't work. Find the things that you can to be grateful for. Not just because you want to be like just sort of optimistic for no good reason, but because what you're going to do is you'll find the things that worked and you can build upon them next year. Find the things that didn't work and figure out a way that like, is that something I just don't want to do again? Or is there some way I want to build on that for next year? This year I will say, and something happened since I was 40, is that, and I don't typically curse on this channel, so I'll beep this out for you, but I just give less than I ever have in my life. And something that my wife, when we look at one another anymore, we always say that we're just not fucking around. And I mean that, I need both of those in the best possible way. That it's for if it's for my students, if it's for my kids, if it's for my family, if it's for my friends, I'm gonna do the right thing regardless of what I think the outcome might be. Now, one of the things that happens when you lose parents when you're young is that you get this glimpse into the idea that like this all goes away eventually. Like this does not last for any of us. In 100 years, all of us will be dead or will be wearing diapers and living in a home and probably not living the dream anymore. So for next year, I know I'm going to have a better year, and this is why. I'm shifting my focus. This year I choose to love myself to care for myself deeply and to be overly generous with those around me. I choose to have zero expectations about anyone. So when I show up on that first day of school, if they move my room, if they change my students, if they change my class, there's not a thing they could tell me that's going to catch me off guard because I don't expect anything this year. I'm choosing to make this year great for myself, for my students, and for my fellow teachers. It's kind of the difference between stopping yourself from being upset that you never get invited to the party and instead just throwing the party yourself. And the last thing about these sort of expectations we put around someone is it stops us from loving people for who they are right now. Because a lot of times we don't love people for who they are right now. We love them for who we want them to be or who we know they can be. But instead stopping ourselves and deeply caring for individuals because of who they are right now, even if they never ever change. Like Mr. Rogers' song always said, it's you that I like. It's not the things you wear, it's not the way you do your hair, but it's you that I like. And so I want to leave you with two quick things before I finish this video. One is a quote that I heard this year when Terry Crews, the actor, was being interviewed by Tim Ferriss on his podcast. And he said, I'm gonna forget this so I gotta look on my phone, that in order to have, we must do. And in order to do, we must be. And so that sounds a little Yoda-ish, but the idea there is that, to me, that is, if you want to be a great teacher, then start doing the things that great teachers do. If you want to be healthier, start doing the things that healthy people do, right? Like exercising and eating right, and start being that person now. You're already that person in the making. You're already a great teacher in the making. You're already a great parent, a great student, but you just now have to start doing the things that the great ones do. And the last thing I want to just say real quickly is, I want all of you that are watching this to know that I am thankful for you. Even though we have never met and some of you never leave a comment, which is fine. I'm not doing this because somebody leaves comments for me, although I do really like the comments. They make me feel good. I am thankful that you would even spend your time watching a channel like this and then going out into the world and doing the hard and sometimes anonymous work that you do that is making the world better. For all of you out there, for the stay-at-home mom and dad, and for the high school teacher, for those of you that are getting ready to student teach for the first time this year and you are scared to death, for the first year teachers that are just thinking about throwing in the towel because this year was so damn hard. The fact that you were trying to be a better person, a better teacher, it means everything. The fact that you watch videos like this and like the other teacher YouTubers and bloggers and content creators all over the world, the fact that you spend your time doing that means something. I hope you breathe this summer in. I hope it recharges you, and I hope you have great ideas for this upcoming school year. And as always, if there's ever anything I can do to help, please hit me up and I'd love to try and help you out with that. I'm glad to be back. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that little bell thing so you get notified when these videos come out. And thank you so much for all that you do. Peace.